What's going on, guys? My name is Sadie.
And I'm Sam. I almost said my name was Sadie.
And I'm introducing us today because today's topic we are going to talk about, should Christian girls pursue guys? It's a good one. If you have seen our love story video, you know that I actually followed Sam on Instagram first. So I don't know if that means that I technically made the first move or not. I don't think that I did, but I will explain why I don't think that I did later on in the video.
I'm very interested to find out what she's talking about there. She's taking the lead on this video because she's a strong, independent woman.
Sure. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to read a passage of scripture, and then from that we're going to discuss what that means and what I personally believe about this subject. So it's in Ruth chapter 3 verse 3 is where I'm starting. It's Naomi talking to Ruth, and she says, "Wash yourself therefore, anoint yourself, and put on your best clothes, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking." She's talking about Boaz in this case. If you've not heard of that whole story, I would encourage you to read earlier chapters and just kind of understand the story more.
The whole story, yeah.
Okay, and then she goes on to say, "But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. It shall be when he lies down that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go and uncover his feet and lie down. Then he will tell you what you shall do." She said to her, "All that you say I will do." So she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law had commanded her. When Boaz had eaten and drunk and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain, and she came secretly and uncovered his feet and lay down. It happened in the middle of the night that the man was startled and bent forward, and behold, a woman was lying at his feet. He said, "Who are you?" She answered, "I am Ruth, your maid. So spread your covering over your maid, for you are a close relative." Then he said, "May you be blessed of the Lord, my daughter. You have shown your last kindness to be better than the first by not going after young men, whether poor or rich. Now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you whatever you ask, for all my people in the city know that you are a woman of excellence." And I'll just stop there. But what I want to talk about is, in the situation, Ruth did not pursue Boaz, but she made herself available for him. And in the same way, I think that for girls, we shouldn't pursue guys, but we should make ourselves available for the guy. So in my situation, Sam was literally like 900 miles away. So I couldn't be like, oh, I'll just wait for him to, find me 800 miles away in a small town in Alabama. So I was like, I'll follow him on Instagram and leave it at that. I was like, I'm not gonna message him first. I'm not gonna pursue him in any way. If he wants to get to know me, he's gonna have to do that. And so I left it at that. When the Bible talks about in Ephesians 5 the roles of men and women in marriage, it talks about men being the leaders of the household and loving their wives, and the wives submitting and respecting her husband and being his helper. And so in the same way, I think that that should apply in dating, where men can lead the women. That doesn't mean that you can't, make yourself available to that guy. And in fact, I think that's a good thing to do if you don't think that he's noticing you. Make yourself available. Go to church if he goes to a particular church. Maybe visit his church or visit his small group, or follow him on Instagram. But in doing that, don't come across as desperate, if that makes sense. Like that's the only reason you're doing those things. Yeah, give me your thoughts and we'll talk more.
When you look at the end of that story, when it's talking about how Boaz is basically complimenting Ruth on how much of a reputation she's built up of being kind, of being a woman of God, of being a godly woman. And that's what ended up winning him over, because if just any woman had laid at the foot of his bed, he would not have been interested. And so, he had heard of all of the kindness towards Naomi, because kind of an abridged version of the story is that, Ruth wasn't really related to Naomi. She just took kindness on her, took pity on her, and wanted to be her friend, and ended up following her, said, "I'd follow you anywhere."
Yeah.
So that kindness, the way that you treat others, the way that you serve God, really gets around. As a woman, you want to have great character, and then you want to make yourself available. Make yourself available in a holy and pure way, but there's nothing wrong with pursuing a guy in that way. And it's not leading a guy, but it is making yourself available.
Something else that I wanted to note from the passage that we read was verse 3. It really stood out to me. When Naomi told Ruth, "Wash yourself therefore, anoint yourself, and put on your best clothes, and go down to the threshing floor." A tip that Naomi gave her was to dress her best, dress feminine. You know, put on your best clothes to go meet this guy. And I think in today's world, you know, it's not a bad thing to dress feminine every now and then. I work from home, so there's a lot of times where I'm in yoga pants, and I'm in yoga pants right now. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't dress feminine every now and then. I think that that really goes noticed, especially in the time of courtship and getting to know people. You'll really stand out if you're taking care of yourself.
But what I was going to add on to that is, you know, just like I would tell guys that are actively seeking a woman, I would say, you know, take care of yourself. Like, make sure you're eating right. Make sure, you know, hygiene is a big one. There's so many guys out there that I know of, and I'm sure it's the case for girls too. But you just, like, wash your hair, like, you know, something like brush your teeth, wash your hair, make sure you're smelling okay.
If you follow him, or if you initiate something with him as far as like making yourself available, and you notice, okay, he's not doing anything, he's not pursuing me at all, he's not responding, the tip I would give you is to distance yourself more, because one, men like a chase, whether that's he's interested in you or he's not. Men do like to chase women, and so that, if you distance yourself more, that will show you, okay, either he's like, oh, like, I don't want to lose this girl, let me chase her, or he does not care. And so in that case, just thank the Lord that that door was closed, and you know, even though it's hard, like, I've gone through that too, where, you know, I blame myself for a guy not pursuing me, and so it's tough, but in the long run, just understanding that God has more for you is very, very key.
See, and actually to add on to that though, I feel like for guys, if a guy is not straight up pursuing you, like he is not like interested in you right away, like if he does not take not aggressive, but like an assertive approach.
Leading, initiating.
Yeah, that's a huge red flag to me. If there's a guy out there and he's just terrified, like if he is just absolutely like terrified to take the lead, or he's like afraid that he's gonna look silly or something like that, that's not the kind of leader, in my opinion, that you want. You want someone that's going to stand up for you in a situation that might be difficult, and stand up for your kids in a situation that might be difficult one day. To me, you want an assertive leader, not someone that's going to be passive, that's going to be like, I really just want her to kind of just spell it out for me. Like, you need to be assertive, in my opinion. Look for a guy that's assertive.
God hasn't designed it for women to lead the relationship, so even if you're the one initiating, he needs to take on that leadership role, because in marriage, it's not going to work out with you, and I'm not saying it's not going to work out, like it's going to split up or whatever, but it's not going to be as God designed it for the man to lead the family. If you're like trying to do X, Y, Z, and if he's okay with you leading, that's just not good. If he's perfectly fine with you leading the relationship, as far as like, you only talk when you reach out, or you only go on dates or hang out or whatever when you reach out, I don't think that that is going to work out in the long run.
And when you look at things that are the opposite of how God designed them, there's a reason that God designed it the way that he did. So if you do have women that are just running over men in relationships and marriage or whatever, there are going to be consequences for that. We might not be able to see them right now, but God designed us the way that he did for a reason. It's not just because God felt like it.
So I'm also going to give a few tips that I think could help you if you want him to initiate. I don't know, Sam's not even heard these. I don't know if he agrees with them or not, but I want to get the guy's perspective for all of you, whether you're a guy, whether you're a girl.
I kind of think this should be its own video. I actually really like this idea.
Really?
Yeah,
Tips to help him
Just
initiate.
tips to help him initiate. I want to say that.
Oh, really? Was that really that good?
Yeah, I love that.
I'll say just a couple do nots really quick.
Sure.
So one thing that I thought about when thinking about initiating and all that type of thing, making yourself available, you don't want to make yourself too available. I've seen girls where they will legitimately put like, I'm single in my bio, and that is not, y'all, what you should be doing, whether you're a guy or a girl. I think it just comes off in the wrong way. Even if you're not meaning it to come off wrong, it can come off as like, oh, this person just, that's the only thing they can think about is their relationship status. I think that it goes a lot further if instead of having that in your bio, you display something about your faith or your hobbies, like make it out to people that, or make it out to the guy that you are liking, that he's not, you know, the only thing you think about. You've got your own life and all that type of thing. And
just to add on to that, people are more interested in people or things that it's obvious that their value is high. So if it's obvious that you value yourself highly, that you have high standards, people are going to be like, oh wow, that must be a valuable thing. Like if you look at something that's like just sitting like by the side of the road, you're like, wow, somebody must not have wanted this. There must be something wrong with this. But then something that someone asks like hundreds or thousands of dollars for, people kind of automatically are like, wow, there must be something special about that. So like if you are out there and you're just giving yourself away, people are going to be thinking, wow, that person isn't really worth my time. There must be something wrong with them. But if you really are not picky, but if you have high standards, people are going to value you. Exactly, it makes you more attractive.
I've also been working on a list of tips to help him initiate, and maybe, you know, we can have a guy version somehow of how can I initiate or something. So y'all stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've never done this before. I feel so special.
Well, if you're interested in that, hit the subscribe button, because we're making a whole bunch more dating and relationship videos from a Christian perspective. And we hope that you will come along for the ride with us.
Yep. Our Instagrams.
we always do that. But anyway, we love every single one of you, and we will see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
That was so funny.